leaving no belly to protect Elizabeth and to protect
Hey,
Rosemary.
hey, Cammy.
But this, damn, I can't stop the bad guy. I can't stop the hurt.
Hey,
I can't stop
Oh,
the
hey, sweetie. I know you were trying to, watch that for the 100th time, but we were gonna record tonight.
hi, everybody. Don't mind me. Ah,
I know. That's a tough scene to break yourself away from, but we can do it.
right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kimmy Clements, the hooked Heartie. Might be a little shiny, but I'm fine here. I'm fine now. Yes.
Might be a lot shiny. But hi everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm the Hawkeyed Heartie, and we are here today not to watch season 12, episode 11, but to talk about and recap season 12, episode 11
Right.
of When Calls the Heart.
Right. Notes. Yes. No, notes. Notes.
Yeah.
Got them. Where are we starting?
Good question.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So, title. Totally appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
For two reasons. And I bet you're thinking of the same reasons I am.
I mean, I hope so.
Okay, you name your first one.
You gotta have faith that things will work out.
You gotta have faith that things will work out. And then they have faith. The doctor.
Yes.
And aren't they so lucky to have her?
Yes. And how much faith do we have in Faith? Because she is remarkable.
Oh, we have a lot of faith in Faith. I don't know about everybody else out there, but
well, quite honestly, that was one thing that I found beautiful throughout the whole episode. There was never any question of her abilities. There was never any question if she knew what to do, if she could handle what to do. It didn't even come up. I mean, back years ago when we had Paul Green on the show, there was constant questioning of his abilities to get things done because he'd been through so much trauma,
right,
and left the profession, come back to the profession. So there was all of that piece to it. And so it was refreshing to be like, okay, we're not going to question her just because she's a woman, or just question her because she's fairly new to being a doctor, just for the last couple of years. So
yeah,
that was really nice to just have it be very consistent, very focused on the issues, and not add any extra drama with the doctor.
I mean, there wasn't even mention of her being just a woman doctor.
Yeah.
It didn't even come up.
Yeah.
Not by anybody. I thought that one of the most profound parts involving Faith was when she was on the phone with Mike and May, and Mike says, "We're meeting again with them tomorrow if you have any suggestions." And she says, "I'll think." I mean, it's a 2-word sentence, but you see the determination in her face. She's not giving up. She's relying on what she has learned, both from school and from Carson. She is determined to get an answer to this. And even though it's Elizabeth and Rosemary who technically come up with the idea to make it a territorial clinic there, she still has all the information to make it happen. She doesn't say, "I don't know," to any of it.
Yeah.
I loved that about Faith. And I thought that, once again, the title of the episode was profoundly twofold.
Yeah.
It was just, it was wonderful. Speaking about Mike, I want to talk about Mike for a second. And I'm probably going to start crying for real when I do this. But the entire town of Hope Valley takes him for granted. He's Mike. He's Hickam. He's done every job, so he knows a little bit about almost everything, except how to be a mayor. No, kidding.
He knows how not to be.
That's very true.
And he knows it's the one job he doesn't want to have.
Right. He's always walking down the street. When Jesse and Clara's wedding ran into the horrible weather problem, Elizabeth walks out the door, first person she sees. Mike, gather everybody to the pond and meet me there. He immediately goes off. No questions, not what's going on, just goes.
Just go get people.
Yeah.
Mission, check. Let's go.
Yeah. Give him a mission, he does it. I mean, that's a really good word for it. Give him a mission, he immediately executes to the best of his ability. You were right. They were going, well, were the overnight train tickets to go to Toronto on the way to Niagara Falls, or were they doing this instead of Niagara Falls and they just bought the train tickets? We don't exactly know.
Oh, see, yes. Okay, so when I heard the comment, they already have train tickets, I took that to mean they already had them for their trip and they're just going to do this instead. Could have meant, you're not talking us out of this. We already bought train tickets to take care of this for you. So it really could have been either.
I took it your way the first time I watched it. And then the second time I watched it, I went, wait a minute.
Could have been the other.
It could have been, but we don't know. So we'll say you're half right. At the very least, they're postponing their second honeymoon when their first honeymoon was a bust. They are spending their own money, it looks like, to take this overnight train. And I don't know much about trains in the 1920s, but if I'm correct, it's not exactly cheap to take a red-eye flight. So taking an overnight train probably wasn't exactly cheap either.
Yeah. If they did already have the trip planned, then it would have been less expensive because they were probably already planning it, had purchased it, all of that. So
true. So at the very least, they are postponing their second honeymoon. At the very most, they are pushing it off indefinitely. And Mike is not a medical professional. His wife is. He didn't have to go. But he went. He went and he helped his wife state the case. It was always we're meeting with. It's not May's meeting with. May's got an appointment. It was all we. He was there every step of the way. And the only person who actually thanked him was Bill.
That was so beautiful too. That was just like, to point it out, I think was so meaningful. Also, though, I do think May was underrated in this episode because really it was all her. Faith didn't know about this treatment at all. And May did all the research, figured all the stuff out, and brought it to everyone. And I loved that both Faith and May were presenting it to Elizabeth and Nathan, and really being a team. Like they were there to support each other through this, because regardless of what happens, this is trying and difficult. Um, and then also to point out that the first scene when May was searching for the article, I loved that because it was such a typical just interaction with somebody, especially somebody you live with. You're like, "Oh, it's late, come to bed," just kind of like not realizing the severity of what's happening, and then immediately just changing to, oh, this is urgent. What can I do to help? Just such a nice interaction. Like to just see the way that the demeanor changes and just like, okay, I'm tired, I want to go to bed. Oh, but this takes precedence.
And to go off of that, Mike and May didn't expect anything. Never once did they expect anything. And when Bill thanked Mike, it was after he offered to make some grilled cheeses because he's Mike.
He just offers in every episode when anything is happening. He is always just like, I'll go. I'll do it. Even when it's like, oh, there's bad guys out there with guns. He's usually, I'll go.
And then he comes back and he quietly goes about his regular work. So he was in the group that was waiting for news. Lee puts on coffee. Mike makes grilled cheese. And that's when Bill thanks him. And he doesn't even say anything. He just smiles and walks on to go cook food for the people who are waiting there. You know what? I'm going to call them the sweet heroes. Because they're M&M.
Yep. I like it.
They're the sweet heroes of this episode.
Other couples have gotten married and things, on the show. That is an example of a couple that just fell into sync. There was drama for like a day when they came back, but like, okay, there's going to be days, right?
There was drama on their wedding day, but once again, it was a day.
It was for a day. All those comments that you get from people about, oh, once a couple on TV gets married, then it's all boring and it's all, there's nothing left to put on the show. The show's over. I know I hate those comments, but
I do too.
It's so what I love about this show is that there's so many different couples and each couple kind of represents a different kind of personality, a different kind of relationship. And so you get so many different vibes watching an ensemble like this.
It's so true.
Mike and May are like the couple you didn't know you needed on this show. Like forever we've said Mike needs to get a relationship.
Mike needs a woman.
Mike just needs some love. He's so giving. He's so, helpful throughout the town. Like he just needs something good in his life too. And, everyone, all the Hearties probably for years have been like, who can we fix him up with? Who can we play matchmaker? And even when she came to town, that didn't cross our minds. Like everyone's like, oh,
because we were so concentrated on Nathan and May being a couple.
Like, oh, okay, maybe with Nathan. And and at the time, I think we were very fixated on like Fiona as a possibility for Mike. And so and even Faith was a great possibility. And so when it clicked, it was just like that amazing fate. It was like, why didn't we know? Why didn't we see this? This is perfect. And the same thing happened when they got married. It just, everything fell into place. They're like two peas in a pod. They finish each other's sentences. They support each other no matter what. And it's just so nice to have that. Not that other couples on the show don't support each other, but there's just something about the way they play off each other. It feels so natural.
It does. It really does.
it's not like with Lee and Rosemary, they're kind of like opposites that are kind of bantering and playing off each
Right.
other in a wild kind of way. And with May and Mike, it's like they just meld together into that one couple that just flows, ebbs and flows perfectly.
Yeah. And, when May is telling Elizabeth and Nathan about the insulin, and Elizabeth says, "What about your trip to Niagara Falls?" We don't even know if May has spoken to Mike about this yet. We don't know if he knows her plan yet. Is she saying it for the first time to them? Or has she already spoken about it to Mike? We don't know. But the fact that she just blankly said, "This is so much more important," that whether she told him before or after, he was going to say the exact same thing. He was going to say, "Let's go."
Yeah.
He was going to say, "Absolutely."
No, there's not a question in anybody's mind that that's what he would do.
No, nothing.
Which is
No.
why we wrote that he went for the medication when we wrote a fan fiction. How many years
It was in the interim during season 6 when we were waiting for the show to come back, and the last thing we saw was Faith and Carson kissing, and so we just went wild with that because we had that hiatus. So we're talking
So
6
that
years
was
ago.
7 years ago.
7. We're talking 7 years ago.
Yeah. So 7 years ago, we were like, we should do a story. People should have to go and get medication from the University of Toronto, I might add.
Thank you for your research, Sarah.
Due to my research. They apparently invented a lot of stuff there. I'm just saying, I did not know there were so many different things invented there.
No, nor did I.
Ben Rosenbaum. We knew your character.
We knew
this would happen.
The only hesitation that Mike had in our fan fiction was the fact that he had to go with Bill and Henry, who were at odds at the time. So
very much so. And we didn't know May existed yet. So oh well,
no.
But yeah, it's clear that even 7 years ago, that's the type of person he would have been. He would have jumped at the chance to go and provide this support in any way that he could.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about someone who's a little closer.
Okay.
Let's talk about this young man's guardians. When Rosemary said, "I just need to keep busy," I almost lost it.
Yeah.
You don't think about this affecting Lee and Rosemary as much because they now have their own child. When Jack was the only child in their lives, this would have crumbled them. But they had to keep going because they have a child to look after. But this is still a child that Rosemary helped bring into the world. Lee was one of the first men to see him because his own father wasn't there. So what do? You have the father's best friend see him. Oh gosh, I'm losing it.
Uh-oh, we're losing her.
To see Lee and Rosemary breaking, trying not to break, being strong for their friends, and concentrating all their efforts on getting them help. And once they're there with the food, I mean, I gotta say, that was adorable. Fixing every single meal for them so they don't have to cook. It reminded me of when somebody has a baby at church. You know, you just start the food train and and so but the fact that they were making them every meal so they didn't have to stop. And then once Rosemary was there, what else can I do? Are there breakfast dishes to be done? You know, trying to stay busy, trying to be as helpful as possible so she can feel like she's doing her part. And then when Elizabeth only needs somebody to talk to carry this horrible burden that she has of having an hour to write a letter that could save her child's life.
No pressure, right?
No pressure.
Oh,
What does Rosemary do? Let's play a game. The game is I remember. No thinking. What do you remember about little Jack when he was a baby? Yes, I wrote them down. I remember giving him birth in the middle of a snowstorm in the woods. I remember when I laid him in his crib for the first time, how he looked like a little acorn.
it's the cutest thing ever.
I know.
That they pulled out things that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just repeating things that had been on the show. I love that there was like these new little just tidbits of information that we can like put other things into context from.
Because then we got to know little Jack better. Right along with the scientists. I remember his alarming talent for hide and seek.
We all remember that.
Yeah, we all remember that. I skipped one. I remember his weight on my chest when I would sing him to sleep. I immediately thought of holding one of my sons on my chest and just sitting there with him. Oh,
Yeah.
He had just gotten his 2-week shots. And so he had just fallen asleep on my chest. And I was just sitting there nuzzling him and cuddling him so that he could be kept comfortable. And just, oh my goodness. And then I remember the first time he smiled at me. And then something that she didn't say to Rosemary, but she stated in the letter, he shared his father's Medal of Bravery with another child who was scared to come to school. Jack never knew his father, but he will grow up to be just like him. Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to watch her be a mother. To watch her be a mother. We see her be a teacher so often, so much. Will would joke that the kids were just there as accessories. And there were kids in Hope Valley when there needed to be. You know, I mean,
just like any TV show.
Right.
At least there needs to be children on this show more often than other shows.
I agree.
So they end up showing them more so. But
yeah.
It's always been so funny to me, though, that the parents are just so able to like go on a date and go do this and whenever they want to. Hope Valley's just magical like that because anybody will take your kid anytime you ask. for any period of time. And no questions. And you trust everyone to do it. So it's great. And nothing will get in the way of any plans that anybody has. Wonderful.
Speaking of which, I really wanted to see Lily. I wanted to see Lily be concerned for her best friend.
I know.
Or even Talia. I would have loved to see one of Jack's friends, one of Jack's girlfriends. But I would have loved to see one of Jack's friends that are his age come and see him. That would have been precious. But I know, time, hours.
There is. And just to also play devil's advocate, you just have to wonder how much little kids are being aware of anything going on.
Very true.
Because especially at the beginning, not knowing what the outcome is going to be, a lot might not be discussed with younger children.
That is very true. That is very true. Okay, let's go to, since we're on the subject of kids, let's go to the big kids. Oh my gosh. Cooper and Toby. Are they the cutest or what?
They're pretty darn cute.
I don't know where they found him. We know where they found Cooper.
He was a little easier to find.
He was a little easier to find. I don't know where they found that adorable boy, but this kid has personality.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got talent, and he knows how to harness both of them to make it meaningful. A kid that age doesn't always have that kind of talent. This kid's got talent.
Yes.
And he's got personality, and he knows how to do both of them, which is beautiful. The fact that Cooper felt guilty, everybody took their turn again,
right?
In this situation. Cooper felt guilty that he didn't watch Jack, even though he watched him run into the woods to chase a fly ball. He knew exactly what he was doing. That actually brings me to a point. They probably did not look everywhere, but when he's not answering, and we just saw him 3 minutes ago when he ran into the woods to chase a fly ball, where is he? Why is he not answering? So,
and he seemed fine right before, so there's no reason to think he was hurt or anything.
Yeah. So that's probably why. Yeah. And, I was really glad that Minnie pointed out that Jack wouldn't even feel up to watching a game, because that was the first thought that came to my mind. Like, just let him watch a game. But then she said, I don't think he's even feeling up to watching. And of course, leave it to one of the kids in Hope Valley to think of sports on the radio.
Another Hope Valley invention. I'm just saying. First sports announcers started there.
The first sports announcers were 13. But just like Oliver said, it was quite the operation, and none of them minded. None of them minded going to all that trouble. Oliver had his binoculars. Allie was running back and forth. Angela came up with all of the sound effects and music, which was so perfect because that's how she keeps track of the game. And so she would know how to make the sounds, and if she didn't know, then she figured it out. And then we got the players, of course, doing the actual playing, and then we got our announcers saying things like Robert and what's an outball? Foul. Roosters? Where'd you get that? You don't know.
I also loved that there were actual spectators in the saloon watching the commentators do their play-by-play when you could have just walked outside and watched the actual game.
Nah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was like, why are you eating? Were they eating popcorn? They were like
Yeah.
eating popcorn, watching the radio broadcast. Okay.
They wanted to experience it like little Jack.
Okay. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
And Lee, whoa, he was really getting into the game. I loved when Lee threw more popcorn on purpose, because you had the celebration when everybody stood up, but then he actually threw more popcorn at them.
That is such a Kevin thing. I'm sure that was all Kevin.
Oh, that had to have been Kevin.
The extra.
Yes.
The extra throw was Kevin, I'm sure.
And okay, there's something that I'm very curious about. We see Timmy and Opal in the group running to the field, but then Emily is the one who comes and whispers that Timmy is going to dedicate his home run that he hasn't made yet to little Jack. And then Allie gives little Jack the ball that Timmy has now called his lucky ball because he hit a home run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Opal and Timmy disappeared.
Yeah.
I was a little sad. I wanted them to be in the group that went to the house, and I wanted Timmy to give him the ball himself.
Yeah, I think it comes down to probably more so just that they wanted to have more of a focal point on Allie.
Oh, I know they did. I know they did. I know all the reasons. I would have loved to see Timmy hand him the ball.
Yeah. I know you know all the reasons, but the viewers might not, so that's what we're talking about this for.
Let's go to Allie. She takes her turn, blaming herself and feeling guilty.
Let's just actually talk about Oliver.
We're talking about both of them right now because this is a fabulous scene. So yes, we're talking about the two of them. But yeah, for Allie to say, maybe that's how I missed it because he's such a happy kid. How could I have missed it when I babysat him all those times? And maybe I wasn't paying attention. And I loved Oliver. Like, did you think Mrs. Thornton wasn't paying attention?
Yeah, like, you didn't spend more time with him than his parent.
His mother lives with him and takes care of him, and she didn't notice. So don't blame yourself.
Yeah. But it's good to put that in perspective because you can absolutely see how somebody, especially a young person who's, that's been one of her biggest responsibilities, has been babysitting little Jack a lot. And now she's getting to the point where she's feeling very protective of him, very sisterly. And this in, and not only is she now dealing with like what this is going to mean to her, but this is going to impact her dad and Elizabeth, who is now her mother figure. And so it's gonna she knows this is devastating for the three people she's closest to in life.
Yeah. What if we all did everything right, but there was nothing we could have done to stop it?
And isn't that what every single person thinks when something horrible happens? What could I have done? There has to be, because you're just trying to make sense of it.
And it was felt by everybody in town. So much of everything that was felt was being felt by everyone in town. It reminded me of the old 1960s Pollyanna. Did you ever watch that as a kid?
Mhm.
When Pollyanna had her accident, the entire town was affected. And the fun part of the whole town being affected is when they're all gathered around their radios and it has a shot of everybody going, and. But then the sad part is that everybody's worried, everybody's feeling downtrodden, and everybody is lost because the light of their lives, this precious cargo, to use Joseph's words, because the letter was about that precious cargo, therefore it was precious cargo. But this little piece of precious cargo that has been there, an integrated part of their lives, somebody that everybody has been involved with from the very beginning because they took his mama under their wing because she lost his daddy. And she was all by herself when she was still pregnant.
Yeah. Not to mention just how many people had connections to Jack Sr.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going back to that with Faith is she had a stronger connection with Jack than she had with Elizabeth originally, and for
Yeah.
much longer and much deeper. I mean, he really helped her get out of a really bad relationship.
Yes, he did.
Imagine where she would be.
Let's not.
Yeah. Uh, but I mean, that's where my mind goes, like with her, especially, is that feeling of wanting to see him make it because his father didn't.
Yeah. And also how frustrating because Faith did save his life in season 3. And then she was completely powerless to save his life when he died.
Yeah.
She wasn't even there. And even if she had been there, there was nothing she could have done.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, before we move on to the precious cargo that we're talking about and his caretakers, shall I say, we have to do a shout out.
Oh.
Yes. Do these words mean anything to you? Any word? Nothing.
Well, they do, but only because I heard it about 25 times in a row.
In one scene.
That was so cleverly done. I really loved how they were able to showcase how many people around town are affected by this.
Yeah.
And no matter what's going on in their life, even someone, at risk of losing their political career, um, is still more concerned about little Jack. And
Oh, that.
yeah. Oh yeah, that career thing. Oh yeah, they were gonna vote about me today, but really my mind is on Jack. His
I
little butt.
wanted a scene. I said in the last episode recap, I wanted a scene with little Jack and Lucas, but this is the next best thing.
And it still could come next episode.
It could. It could. I really want it. I really, really want it.
It also could have been cut. Like they do have to so much for time. So it is possible that
We
they were
started on how many things were probably cut because of time in this episode.
well, it's true, but
Well, I'm not going down that path because it's a rabbit hole. You guys figure it out on your own. And if you really want to know what I'm thinking, message me. But yes, this is the next best thing if we can't have a scene. And it shows that all of these big tough guys, these leaders of the town, leaders of the territory, are concerned with this little boy, and they are more concerned about him and his lost pony than they are about what's happening in politics.
yeah.
But
I'm sure we'll have a lot more politics next episode. So
I'm
we'll
sure we will. And
see.
not only that, but Bill takes a little break from being a caretaker to give political advice. What's to stop you now that you don't have to worry about getting reelected? Like, it's all being shot to you know where? Fine, then just go for it.
Yeah, get your needs met. Do what you came here to do.
So there's our shout out to the tough guy leaders of the land, whether big or small.
We love them.
We do. We love them. Okay. So here's your question for the day. I have a couple actually. What was the affectionate gesture that Nathan did to Elizabeth that we have never seen him do before?
In this moment, you have me stumped.
I'm pointing to my temple. Does that give you any indication?
When he kissed her temple?
That's right. He's never done that. I know what you're thinking. You're rolling your eyes internally and saying, of course, she noticed that.
Of course.
I've noticed how their relationship keeps growing. And I was very specific about the fact that I hadn't really seen them just hug.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen them, arm around or cuddling or something like that, but just hug, hadn't seen that. And he did that. I would have accepted that too.
Right.
But so uh so a plain hug had never happened. And the other thing is he has not kissed her forehead yet. Every time he has kissed her, it's been on the lips. There was that time when he nuzzled up right next to her ear. Whoa, I'm getting shivers just thinking about it. And whispered right behind her ear.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Excuse me. You got any ice? But he didn't kiss her on the cheek or anything like that. So here, he purposefully reached around her hair and kissed her on the temple. So next stop, forehead. Now, if I can get through this, let's talk about the 3 things that he specifically did for Jack.
okay.
Okay, so you name the first one.
The piggyback ride? That was adorable.
thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna die. And then if that wasn't enough, he does his little he neighs like a horse right there with him on his back. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm just going to sink into the ground and die right now.
Just the perfect dad vibes.
And I'm sorry, what was that word?
Dad.
Dad. He was there. This isn't one of the specific things. Bill got him a leave of absence. I don't know why Hargraves was being that nice to him. But
Because here's the thing. Hargraves has a reason that he's been mad every time. He
Yeah.
has not, there has really not been an unconstituted grudge. We don't like that he doesn't like Nathan. And we, from our perspective and all the facts that we know about the situation, we don't agree with his assessment of Nathan. But when you look at it from his point of view, and if he has less information and different information, and also the guilt of his part in all the situation that he's probably in denial about, you can see why he wouldn't have a great opinion of the guy. But over time, he has shown leniency when it is due and when it is proven that it is needed. Like when Allie went through everything and defended him. And when he sent him Oliver, because he knew this actually is the right situation.
For the report on Oliver.
Yes. And so he does definitely have some faith in Nathan's abilities to a point.
Well, and the other thing is, Hargraves did say the last thing he said to him before he left that first time, take care of her.
Take care of her.
What better way to take care of her than help take care of her son?
My second point to that conversation, though, is that he has an amazing relationship with Bill.
Yeah.
Right? So Bill is the one that calls him. Bill is the one that lays it out for him. Bill was probably emotional. His voice was probably cracking, even telling him what's going on with little Jack.
Yep.
He knows Bill's history with Jack Sr. and Elizabeth. So he knows the severity of this, and he does now know that Nathan and Elizabeth are a couple. So getting that request from someone who you fully respect 100%, and we didn't hear that conversation. I'm going to bet there was a comment from Bill, something along the lines of, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah.
I need you to do this for Jack Thornton. This is needed for his family. We take care of our own.
Now you're making me cry.
I mean, that's how that conversation went in my head.
Oh, I love it. You know what? We should write a fanfic about it.
You know, I don't think he did it for Nathan. He did it for Elizabeth. He did it for Bill, and he did it for Jack, Sr. and Jr.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
Well, and caveat, Bill, he probably wanted to be right there too. But he took the hit. He went back onto active duty. He called Hargraves so that he could get Nathan a leave of absence, and Nathan could be there every minute, which I'll get to that in a second. You know, but Bill probably wanted to be there all the time too. And he took himself and gave what he could so that Nathan could be there as Elizabeth's #1 supporter.
Because he knew that would be the most useful place for him. Even though he could have absolutely helped Elizabeth and Jack, he knew that what they needed was Nathan. He knew that what Nathan needed was to be there. And he knew that this was something that he very easily could do, is jump into the Mountie role for the town, for everybody that's needed to fulfill that responsibility, to convince Hargraves to let Nathan do it. Like, it honestly was like the perfect storm of circumstances to be able to make a big impact himself, whereas just him hanging out with Elizabeth wouldn't have made the same impact. And Bill's smart. Bill is very, very smart.
Very. I mean, he's the James Bond of Hope Valley. You don't get that title by having no brains.
We've already established that, yes.
Okay. Number 2, sitting with him all those times, sitting and reading to him on the couch. Elizabeth was so worried that little Jack was going to wake up in the hospital when she went home to get his things, and she made sure that Faith would tell him I'll be right back. But Nathan stayed there, and he sat right beside him the whole time that Elizabeth was gone. Okay. This is the hard one. When Nathan is in the infirmary with everybody, and he reaches into his pocket. Did you see that coming? Because I sure
did not.
I did
Gosh. It blew my mind because it's like in a case. Like, sure, he built it, but like, it's not just something you take out all the time.
What?
And
it was a prop for the first day of school.
It's just one of those things. And I've told you before, like, step parent stories just always get my heart. But like, when a step parent makes a move that is what is best for that child and references the parent that's not there, it is like, it is better than you being there for the child, is you are saying, I am here for you, and I know how important it is that there is this recognition of the parent that's not here.
You know, we wrote that in the most recent fan fiction about Nathan and Elizabeth's first kiss before it happened, everybody. But if you haven't heard it, it was before we knew who Casimir Shaw was. And so we had Elizabeth get mugged by Casimir Shaw, and she's unconscious and she's in a coma. And Jack comes to sit on Nathan's lap because Nathan won't leave her bedside in the infirmary. And he says to Nathan, Mama said that Daddy got hurt so badly that he couldn't be fixed. Is Mama going to go to heaven to be with Daddy? And Nathan internally freaks out, but then he calms himself down and he speaks with reverence towards both of Jack's parents and saying, I don't want that to happen because I would miss her and I know you would too. But no matter what happens, your mama and your daddy will always love you forever. And there are plenty of people to take care of you in Hope Valley. And so even though that's not exactly what happened, he's conveying all of that right there. And I loved watching Kevin in this episode. The man deserves an Emmy nod. He really, really does. The character of Nathan was there every minute of every day. For all we know, he slept on the couch. And he was constantly there. He never left her side. He did the dishes. When they worked together to lift him up
Scene, yes.
because obviously, just like what we were saying last time, he's a big kid.
He's growing up.
And so Nathan grabs him from behind while she stands up, but he never leaves the comfort of his mother's arms. That conversation between Bill and Nathan, I began to sob. I began to sob.
Yeah, no, it was so beautifully done. Obviously, we love this show. We think the episodes are worthy of awards. But really, like, since, season 5, the end of season 5, like, that's the last time, like, everyone was saying the word Emmy, like, in every
Yes.
sentence. Obviously, about Erin's performance, which was spectacular in that episode,
Oh,
as was everyone's. That entire episode was just full of amazing performances. But even in this episode, like, because you're making that mental comparison a little bit to just the level of seriousness of the
yes.
episode is very
Uh-huh.
comparable to that. And obviously you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, like, Erin is the mother, Elizabeth is Jack's mother, and she's the one going through the most direct emotion. She's the most impacted by this.
Mm-hmm. Because she is his parent.
And yeah, not to mention the fact that she's going through the emotions, the triggers of having lost his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all of that. But for me, Kevin's performance blew that even out of the water because it was not the expected emotional drama that okay, this child has been just basically been given a terminal diagnosis. Obviously, the mother's going to be in turmoil. And obviously, other people are going to care and be upset. But the level to which Nathan's character was going through stuff and that balance of not feeling like he was able to show that emotion. Not so much that he was trying to hide it, but just that he was just trying to be so strong for Elizabeth.
That's the word.
This is what he felt was his duty, was to be strong for her. And so, but you could see it on his face. There were so many different episodes. Not only every scene, but just there was just something so nuanced about it to where he really was walking such a fine line between really being the dad and also fully supporting and showing awareness and understanding that he was not the dad and that this was Elizabeth's turmoil, and that and acknowledging, like, this, I am not going through what she's going through. I am going through a whole thing myself, but I fully know that she's has it worse. And I have to be there for her. And so, like, right down to just the way everything was phrased, he would go from, in the scene with May and Faith, he would go from what do we need to know?
Mm-hmm.
It was not, what does Elizabeth need to know to make this decision? It basically was, we're making this decision. We're very much doing everything together and thinking about things together. She was even looking at him like, what do you think? This is probably what we need to do. Like, yes, it's her decision, but it was very much also a joint decision, so to speak. Yeah. And then going from that sentence to, so Elizabeth does this, and then we hope for the best, we move forward. So he was very much walking a fine line of respect for what position she's in, and knowing full well that's not his right to necessarily have that position. but also fully taking on every ounce of responsibility that he can and making it very clear how much it is affecting him and he does care and it is difficult for him as well.
Did you notice that every scene that they were in together, besides the end when we know that little Jack is going to live, their eyes are constantly drawn to Jack? They look at each other, they look at Jack. They look at each other, they look at Jack. I started looking for it the second time I watched because I noticed it the first time. And it was in every scene. They look at each other, they look at Jack. They look at each other, they look at Jack. They could not keep their eyes off of him, and they always looked together. And you know, that scene when Elizabeth delivers the letter to May and Mike, and Joseph says a prayer over their journey, I remember thinking at first it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction. Why is Nathan not there? And then I remembered Nathan's at Elizabeth's house with little Jack. He was there all the time. He was being a father to that little boy. He was being a husband to that woman. And he was feeling all of the feelings of a helpless parent. With him, I can't stop the bad guy. With her, I can't stop the hurt. And then we see something that we've always known was there, but we haven't fully witnessed it. We saw a beautiful father-son relationship between Bill and Nathan. He looked like such a little lost boy, and he just leaned into Nate. He just leaned into Bill like he had no strength left. And he got that strength, the pat on the shoulder. Your job is to be there when it counts. And it looks like you're doing a pretty good job to me. He needed those words. He needed that physical comfort. I know that they kind of addressed it in the end, but the fact that Elizabeth heard him say all of those things, why didn't she say something? Not right then. Not right then.
No. I prefer that she didn't say that she overheard it. I think it is more meaningful to Nathan if that's his private moment with Bill.
You think so?
I think for him, I don't think he'd feel uncomfortable with her knowing. I just think he would feel that pressure. Like he already feels that pressure. He has to be strong for her. And I think there'd be a little piece of him that thinks
would feel weak.
No, that would feel like her knowing he said that is causing her to maybe not lean on him as much, or try to give him space or try to give him opportunity. And I think for him, he wants to be that rock for her. And I think right now, at least, knowing that she knows how painful it is for him, that might take away from his ability to be strong for her. I think he could work through that. And like, if she brought it up in the next episode or further down the line as a like, oh, that one time, oh yeah, no, I heard that conversation with Bill, I think it'd be fine. But I think in this couple weeks period, when this is all fresh, I think it's easier for him to be confident and strong in front of her if he doesn't know that she knows.
You don't think that conversation that they had at the very end?
I think
'Cause
it could
by
allude
then
to
everything
it.
was fine.
But it's not fine yet. It's not ever going to be fine. It's getting manageable. It's getting, you know, we're not in dire straits
Things
anymore.
were a
But
whole lot more fine than they were.
they were, but emotionally, like, you know, what going through something traumatic like that, it doesn't flip off like a switch.
True.
When the need is over, like, yes, okay, we're through that. He's not going to die. We believe that this treatment is going to work. I mean, again, this is a brand new treatment. They don't know it's going to work for the next 150 years. They, you know, they know right now this is working. They don't know it's going to work long term. They don't know it's going to be that it's actually going to give them a full life. So I think that they're still going to be on a very high stress level, at least for a year or two, in terms of his safety and his medical needs. There's just going to be a fear that doesn't go away, or doesn't, it might lessen, but it's going to still always be there for both of them.
Isn't it funny how casually we think about diabetes and
Yeah. And
how
and again, caveat though, that is from people that do not deal with it on a daily basis. I am sure that people that deal with it on a daily basis, especially with their young children, would say they do not think of it lightly. But in terms of comparing it to something that nowadays would be terminal, that nowadays would not be treatable, if you do think about it,
like a brain tumor,
something like that, that is not fixable, or that has very low odds of being cured. So
right.
If you think about it in that sense, yes, back then and it's a brand new treatment. Even somebody now having some form of cancer, something else, getting into some sort of a trial with new medication, and it's working really great, but you don't know long term what that's going to do. You don't know. And there's always going to be fears. There's always going to be uncertainties. So I don't know. I feel like in that first couple weeks, especially, even though that life and death in this moment heightened fear has been taken away, I still just think they need to kind of come down from that trauma.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Although they could have a different type of trauma response.
Funny
sometimes life and death experiences make you think about life, what you want.
Oh, this elopement. Okay.
How soon you want it.
Okay, all right. Well, you just calm yourself. Hold your horses for a second. I'm getting to that, kind of. So, in that final scene, she takes a step toward telling him that she knows how strong he's been.
Yes.
I don't know what we'd do without you, Nathan. And I love they have done this a lot, not just in When Calls the Heart, but in Hallmark movies recently. I have really noticed this a lot. I don't know what we'd do without you. What I do.
Yeah, because you do want to keep the focus on the romance piece in this scene like this. But you also do need to acknowledge that it's not just their relationship, that they are a family, that this is something that he is supporting Jack separately from Elizabeth also.
Yeah. Thank you for standing with me when I couldn't see the light. And what did he say? One of his famous lines.
There's nowhere I'd rather be.
Oh,
But I actually liked the previous line before that even better. She made a reference to him needing to do more important things, like going back to work. And he said, there is nothing more important than this. Yeah. To me, that was the line that I was just like, marry that man.
There's nowhere that I would rather be. You saw the meaning in his eyes, that was one of their lines. And so you saw how much it meant to both of them that he would say that.
Yeah.
And when she says, today feels like the best and worst day of my life, I loved his response because it was so casual and so natural. Well, we have a whole lifetime to figure it out. So does he. We have a whole lifetime to figure it out. And then the profound part, so does he.
Yeah, the writing was there.
And before I make my last comment, if we're talking about writing, the line that I heard in the preview for the season finale was something else that Nathan said. Grateful calm. A grateful calm came over me. And I just went,
Yeah, what could that kind of conversation be?
I'm not saying it because then it won't happen.
Oh, that's not how I work.
I know that's not how you work. I'm not saying it.
I don't think there's any jinxing anything. I have to say, as much as it's not probably going to happen, the way the scenes have set up, it really supports my theory. I have to say, this episode looks so much like there's gonna be, and I'm sorry, some of the comments I've been hearing really support it too. Kevin has made comments that Nathan and Elizabeth, should there be a season 13, will find themselves in a very different situation that they've never been in before. And
Gee, wonder.
Some very shocking turn of events. And so I'm just saying, what would be more shocking, Hearties, than just, oh, let's just get married right now. Let's just go. Because really, there are so many people that could perform a wedding. Let's just think about this. We know Bill can, as a judge. He can perform a ceremony. We know that Joseph can. I'm pretty sure Lucas could as the governor.
No.
Oh, no. I was dead set against that when it first crossed my mind. I just have to say, I've played through many scenarios of elopement. Lucas is actually my favorite option at the moment. It could be very, very fun. It could be very, very fun. I do think they probably wouldn't do that just because of the climate with some fans, but I personally would love it because it would show you how perfectly fine he is, how perfectly comfortable he is, and how perfectly comfortable Nathan and Elizabeth are with him. I think that would really be nice. Okay, bye-bye. Gonna run away?
Don't want to get hit by the lightning.
Uh-huh. Okay. And Kevin could probably do it as mayor. Lee could probably perform a ceremony also. So I feel like also probably Hickam has been ordained over the radio or something. So could be the first like radio wedding. I don't know. Anyway, just saying there's lots of options. So I don't know. At the very least, there's going to be a discussion between them about marriage.
Absolutely.
It's not an actual proposal. They're going to talk about it openly. It's, but what would be better than actually doing some sort of informal, we want to be married right now. This has taught us that life is short. You never know what's going to happen. We just want to be a family. We'll throw a big party later and invite our families to come from all over, and then season 13 could come, and they're just in this new place, which is marriage, which we haven't seen before. That would answer all the things, and best of all, I would be right.
She just will not give up, will she, guys?
Nope.
Nope.
I will not. I will not. There needs to be an elopement on this show by somebody. But also, I also just feel like he shouldn't be in Surge. And I know that's going to be a really controversial topic, but Jack was in Surge, and I just feel like it needs to not be. And
Wow.
impromptu is the only way that's going to happen.
Impromptu, he would be in uniform anyway. He wouldn't be in his dress uniform.
This is what Hearties are here for. They want all the speculation.
I do want to leave us with two thoughts.
Okay.
Number one, I even said this out loud when I was watching it for the first time, but then she said, "Be strong for mommy." And then do you know what she said right after that?
Please come back to me.
That is a quote from our latest fan fiction. We wrote that exact line. Yes, it was Nathan talking to Elizabeth, but we wrote that exact line. I love it.
And also being the more intentional reason for the line being the callback to season 3, when she said something very similar to Jack Sr.
She said, "Stay with me."
But it was very similar and in a very similar scene.
Yes.
Lots of comparisons.
Oh yeah.
That killed me mostly because of that. She just looked like she was reliving the pain from previous situations while also living this pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew.
And that kind of brings me to my final thought. I have to give this shout out to Minnie, because this is probably one of the most profound things I have ever heard her say. That's where you find faith when it's all you've got. You look at the ground under your feet, not at the top of the mountain. I have never heard more profound words for getting through a trial. Not in a TV show, anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's the writing, and that is Natasha's delivery of it. All of it. That was even Pascal's intensive listening. It was all beautifully done. And what a profound thought when you have this terrible thing going on. The last thing that you want to look at is where you're at, because you want to get out of it as fast as possible. But if you look at the top of the mountain, all you're going to see is how far it is and how long it's going to take you to get there. But when you look at the ground under your feet, you see that you keep moving. You can keep trudging through it as hard as it is, and you look behind you and you see how far you've come.
That's so beautiful. That we should just give a shout out to one of our lovely podcast viewers. And just dedicate that line to Jim today, because I know he's having a tough week and he's got a long road as well. And we love his support, and we think that all the Hearties community can also kind of show that kind of support to each other. So we're thinking of you, Jim, and you got this.
We love you, Jim. Look at the ground under your feet, not at the top of the mountain. And I think that's a really great thought for everybody. So let's just leave it at that. And we'll see you next time for our season finale.
Bye, Hearties.